Hi everyone, I am Rebecca from ChemKnits and I've got mail. Today we are going to dye a finished knit object. And the object was actually knit by our sponsor, Kelly Vaughn from KnitSwag. So first let's open this up and then I'll talk some more about the project. Oh, she included the yarn instructions, or the fiber instructions. Wow. All right, so what we have here is a beautiful lace weight shawl knit out of some bare yarn. And we're gonna dye this. I'm a little nervous, but we're gonna dye this today. So this shawl was knit out of Whisper lace, and this yarn is 70% superwash wool, 30% silk. I forget what the pattern was that Kelly knit, but what she told me is that she knit the shawl and then wasn't really a huge fan of it. And so rather than just frogging it, she decided to send it my way so I could dye it. Okay, so I see that there's a panel in the back and there are these two edges, and I think that the eyelets were supposed to be used for some ruffles. But the yarn is soft, and honestly, I'd probably just wear it as is, but I am excited to dye this. Now, before we go and dye this gorgeous shawl blank today, I want to tell you a little bit about Kelly Vaughn from KnitSwag. Kelly is a knitter and graphic designer and creates wonderful, beautiful, personalized gifts for the knitters in your life. The items include things like this personalized mug, and you don't have to have Rebecca, you can have it with whatever name you like. And some of my other favorites include the sunflower clock, which is now also available as a mug and cards. Her design work is gorgeous, and these will make really wonderful holiday gifts for other knitters and fiber crafters in your life. If you'd like to learn more about KnitSwag, you can find a link to the KnitSwag Etsy shop in the video description. And Kelly has generously given me a coupon code to share with all of you. You can see the details right here and for the dates that it is available. Kelly, thank you so much for sponsoring this episode of Dyepot Weekly and providing the blank for it.
The original plan was for me to dye and unravel the shawl myself. However, Kelly decided that she prefers to unravel it herself, and so I will be sending her a finished dyed blank that then she can unravel. Therefore, I think this gives us the opportunity to do something that would be fun to unravel and use the yarn again to knit something else, but also make something that looks fun and cool as a finished shawl. It certainly takes pressure off of me knowing that this will be unraveled, because as long as the colors are beautiful, it doesn't matter if I make any, quote, mistakes, because the intent is to frog it to use the yarn for something else anyway. All right, I have a plan for the shawl, but I want to start off by pre-soaking it, and I think this is a crochet chain of crochet chains that we will dye as well. And I'm not going to unravel the shawl, but I will unravel this, so we will have something to play with. But I want to pre-soak it for a couple of hours. Since this is a silk blend, I want to make sure that the fibers are nice and saturated before we get started. I am very glad that it is a superwash blend, and the plan is first we are going to dip dye this to create a base color, and then we will hand paint / speckle on some additional color in a different type of pattern, and I think that the full result will be amazing. At least that's my hope. In my stainless steel dedicated dye pot, I'm going to start heating things up. There are currently 16 cups of water, and I am going to add 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tablespoons of white vinegar. This sounds like a lot, but it's really only 3 per 8 cups, which is a little more than what I might normally start with. And now we are going to add our dye for the dip dyeing. I just created a 1% stock solution of Dharma Silver Gray, A 1% stock solution has 1 gram of dye dissolved in 100 milliliters of solution. And we're going to add 1 cup, or about 240 milliliters of this color to our dye bath. This amount of color is about 2.4 grams of dye. And I think we have around 150 grams of yarn in this shawl that we will be dip dyeing into here. Yeah, I don't remember now if I weighed the shawl out, but I do want to let this heat up so we start having some movement on the surface before we start dip dyeing. I want there to be, it doesn't have to be the most extreme gradient, but I do want a gradient of color on the shawl as we're dip dyeing. And so I am excited, and let's wait for this to heat up. Everyone, I am nervous. I'm holding the shawl in the middle, and I'm going to start dipping the small ends in first. I'm standing up on a chair to give me space. About midway through, I'll put the little crochet chain of crochet chains in. So now we dip in and out. There's the brief wonder if I have used too much dye. Oh dear. It is a little heavy, but actually standing up on this chair really helps. And I'm trying to use control for myself. Each time I go in, I'm only going in a couple of inches deeper. And already I am starting to see a gradient form. So that is encouraging. It's so weird to do this on like a blank this big. Oh man. Oh, that's all looking almost black down there. Okay. Maybe darker than I wanted, but I had to pick like a point for color. Okay, at this stage I'm going to take this thing and toss it in and try to swap arms. We definitely have a gradient going on. I'm afraid if I put all the yarn in too soon that we will end up, see, I don't mind getting that light color over the rest, but I need to remind myself that there's still a substantial amount of yarn in here. So I'm now adding a lot more because as I pull up, the color on here is pretty light. And so that I think is good. And I need to remind myself that not all yarn going in. Okay, I'm going to add everything and then we're going to try to remove it. I need to remind myself that not all yarn going in is created equal, as some of the stuff going in towards the end. All right, and now we're going to just add everything and hope for the best. The yarn that was going in towards the end here had a lot more volume than those tips we added at the beginning, and I'm encouraged seeing the pot clear. And I think that this is going to be really, really cool. So a big bulk of this has very little color, but we've got sections that have really deep color. And oh, here's our little crochet chain of crochet chains. Doesn't have very much color on it. Okay. I am now going to let the yarn sit in the pot under low heat for, I guess, 20 minutes. Yeah, I'll make sure the heat is on low. We'll leave it in here for 20 minutes, then we'll come back and check in. I love what I am seeing here in the pot. We have a beautiful light gray to a deep gray gradient. I am now going to add, there's still a little bit of color in here. I'm going to add some more vinegar. Got another 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm going to turn off the heat and let our shawl, it's not just yarn, we've got a whole shawl in here. I want to let it cool completely. It's clearing pretty well. I still am gonna leave it in here to cool. I now am debating something. Here's my debate. Should I go ahead and dye the pink that I want to dye on this now, or should I rinse this, hang it up to dry before the next round? And honestly, I'm inclined to let it dry. This isn't for the best dyeing purpose. This is more for my personal education about what we can expect, and I want to see how the shawl looks now that we have this dipped gradient on that, and evaluate that before we decide where and how to add more color. So I think for the purposes of dyeing a completed knit object, I'm gonna let it dry. So I guess I will be back once things are cool so we can rinse it. I'll probably just do one rinse and then let it dry. I think that's my plan. Oh, Kelly, wait till you see. This is so pretty. I like the shawl is so big that I can't even show the whole thing. But if I show this gradient, look at that. That is so pretty. I know I'm going to over dye it again because that was the plan. But I think that I'm so glad I decided to dry it. Plus, I mean, timing wise, this gives me time to plan out a little bit more exactly what I want to do. But the two sides are matched pretty darn well, just checking it out. And I think that there is something really, really fun, you know, if you were to wrap this around, just having these different colors in there. I think I would really like now to make a scarf and dip dye it and just have like those colors come through. I think that is so, so pretty. Now, what is our next plan? I am going to go a bit by feel, but Kelly and I talked about dyeing this gray and pink, and we have this huge canvas in the middle that has the more light and pastel gray. I think the thing that is really nice is that since the ends are dark, this means that my ability to fit the workable space on my counter for hand painting is cool. But I think I want to take advantage of, and I'm still planning to add some pink to these ends, but I think I want to take advantage of these different eyelet sections in some capacity. I just haven't decided if I want to speckle with dry powder or use a brush and paint some things or what. I know that I think as a complete shawl, I think that I like it at this stage. And so if you're interested in dyeing a complete knit object, and I'll see if I can spread this out somewhere to take a picture of it in this stage, I think dip dyeing is a really great way to dye a finished knit object. Because if you wanted to kettle dye, there could be some variation or tie-dye type effects in there, which can be beautiful, but dip dyeing allows you to have a little bit more control over where the color is, and then you can get this gorgeous ombre. So I'm excited with where the shawl is at the moment, and we're gonna dye it again. But let me know down in the comments what you would do next. Because don't forget, this is a blank. Kelly is gonna unravel it to turn it into another project. So even if what I do next isn't the most beautiful, like right now it's very wearable and beautiful, so if what I do next isn't the most wearable, it's still gonna create a fun yarn that can then sort of be turned into something else really fun. So yeah, I'm gonna go sleep on it and think about what we're gonna do next. We are outside to try to show off the full shawl. Keep in mind that it has not been blocked, so it would look different depending on how you blocked it. But one thing that I can see now is that the lightest areas are actually here and here, which actually, I suppose, as I was dipping this center area started going in with some of those intermediates, leaving this part in last. So I think it's cool. It's just interesting that there's like a light area. It feels like there's a light area on either side of that central section. So I think now what I want to do is to create another type of gradient. Both thinking about this in terms of a fun shawl, and maybe I'll need to do the dyeing outside. I haven't thought about how I'm going to do it, but I'd like to have less of this magenta at the top and then more and more and more down towards the bottom, whether we're on the more charcoal tips or the lighter section. And so I just thought that that would be a really, really fun way to dye this. But oh goodness, I'm gonna have to think about the logistics of how I'm going to manage doing this. So it still feels somewhat symmetrical. And since it's gonna be unraveled, the symmetry doesn't matter a ton, but yeah, I think that it will help a bit. But there's no question that I now want to make a scarf out of bare yarn and dip dye it. I think that that would be amazing. But let's go and soak this in some water so we can get ready to dye it again. Kelly, I have gone back and forth over how to dye this so many times. So many times. All right, I think I've been going back and forth about doing it on the counter versus doing something immersion style. And I think I want to do something immersion style. And I want to arrange this in the pan in a very specific kind of way. So I'm trying to keep that bottom eyelet line almost in a row. Okay, scrunching things up. Now correspondingly, that means I need to scrunch it up like this as well on the other side, because what I don't want, I'm really gonna have to think, because what I want to do is have more pigment down at this bottom edge. But that's also the edge that by definition has to be more crowded. So I suppose I could go the other direction, because this edge, bottom edge by definition has more resist. But man, I don't know. So if let's see, scrunched this together, then we've got this bit up here where I want very little anyway. Maybe there's a way for me to secure it just lightly, because I don't want to add like a resist, but maybe keep that out, that little bit out. Okay, this is feeling sort of tie-dye to me. I know that one of the original plans with the scarf was with the shawl was to use these eyelets to sort of create these ruffles through it. And so this is my way of creating ruffles without creating ruffles. And so my plan now is going to be to speckle onto this. Now, we don't have very much yarn exposed at any given point. So there might be some color that bleeds down through, but when we open it, we should have sort of random patches of this pink speckled color, which I think will be cool. And then we also have our friendly little extra yarn there as well. Now there's one more thing I want to put in here. I am going to add some yarn mops to these corners. This is some Knit Picks Swish DK. that has just been pre-wet. It has not really pre-soaked. And I'm going to add some over here as well. This is a yarn mop that will dye with whatever leftover color we pull. We'll dye this with whatever. We're going to mix some dye powder with some citric acid for doing the speckling. And when we're done dyeing the shawl, we'll dye the rest of this yarn with whatever dye we have left. But what this is going to do, as we add some water to our pan, is going to make sure that if some dye goes onto here, it's not going to just dissolve and spread. There will be some spread, but not just because of that yarn, if that makes sense. All right, I'm coming in with 1 tablespoon of white vinegar mixed in with 1 cup of water. Adding it there. And I'm now just going to be slowly adding water until we want this shawl to be still at the surface, but I want there to be enough liquid so I'm not going to worry about it burning. This looks a little bit like a volcano. It looks so cool. All right, we've got a total of 2 tablespoons of white vinegar and 5 cups of water. There is liquid down here, but there is a lot of shawl that's at the surface. So I'm gonna have to keep a really, really close eye on the temperature. But let's put on a respirator mask since we're about to deal with some dry powder and get ready to go with our acid dye. In this cup, I've added 1 teaspoon of citric acid powder. And to it, I'm gonna add maybe about this much, like the tip of a spoonful of deep magenta. And I can say that that amount is definitely less than like half a gram, maybe approximately. So what we have here is still fairly pigmented, but it should help me spread things out and hopefully have some of those speckles strike pretty quickly. As we start to heat this up, I am actually going to cover it with these aluminum pans just so that way we can trap some of that heat in, because the heat is starting off pretty uneven. And I'm just going to do this for a very brief period of time, and then we're going to start speckling. Okay, I'm going to reduce the heat to low, remove these covers, which we can bring back. But what that did was just help remove some cold pockets that we have. And now I want to make sure my hands are completely dry so we can come in to start speckling. And just for my own reference, speckling with this powder, you can see that we can get some really nice defined pink speckles. And where we are over here is actually probably the area that is the coldest of the whole pan. So let's start this on the shawl. What I have to remind myself is that it's going to be really easy to see these speckles on the center portion where I'm starting. And it's going to be a lot harder for me to see them on the darker gray parts of the shawl. I can kind of see the powder going down a bit. I'm wondering what the pattern is going to be like, because it should be pretty pretty random. Okay, now in this next area I'm attempting slowly. I want to get lighter and lighter, which is going to be harder to do on the darker areas, just because it is harder to see. But this is fun. Don't forget that when we open it up, This looks really heavy, but we'll probably see, I don't know if we'll see stripes from the way that it pulls or what. I think it really depends on how it is scrunched together. But I am attempting to do less and less as we go up. And I think I'll probably come in and go a bit heavier at the bottom, just because to really make this clear. I'm actually really excited now because we're going to have a moment of reveal that we probably wouldn't have had otherwise. If I had not like scrunched it, then like we would have had a sense of what it was going to look like, but now when we open it up we will see something, which I think will be really, really fun. Okay, I think that is pretty good. All right, I am now going to rinse off my hand, set this down, but first, let's cover these with our aluminum pans. The heat is still on low. I'm going to let this heat maybe bring it up a little bit. It is nice and steamy. Let's not forget that the water level is really, really low. So the heat's going to stay on low, medium, low. We're steaming it in there, but we'll come and add more water in, I think, in about 10 minutes. So I'm going to leave this here. And the good news is that I can feel the warmth in here, which means it's going to be warm all the way through. So let's wait 10 minutes. All right, it has been 10 minutes. This is nice and steamy. All right, let's try to add some more water. And I am going to start carefully. How funny. See that? I was like, I'm adding the water and it's swelling in the middle. I'm adding it mostly to the back corners, but we really want the water to be everywhere. And so this will allow us to raise the heat. But I think that these speckles have been pretty well set. Notice how now they're actually fairly completely covered by water, and the pink color is staying pretty put. It's not really spreading out, which is cool. I think this is one of my best examples of keeping the yarn like above the surface of the water for doing some speckling. All right, and now this batch has 2 tablespoons of white vinegar in it. And I am now going to, I guess I may as well cover it again. But we will heat it, I guess covered for about 20 minutes. If it starts to bubble, I'll reduce the temperature. All right, now I am going to remove these covers and turn off the heat and let our shawl cool off. Now, don't worry, these mops here are going to get more color. I'm going to add a lot more speckles to them in a little bit. Once it is a fair amount cooler in here and I can remove our shawl. But oh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. The best part is that since this is a blank, if we don't like the pattern that these speckles formed onto the shawl, it's gonna get unraveled. And so that'll mix up where they've pooled. And so that knowledge has helped me a lot. We are much closer to room temperature now, and so I am going to carefully, maybe not quite room temperature, but at least I can comfortably handle it. And it does, well, let's open it up a little bit. Whoa, cool. We've got like rivers and splotches. That's actually really kind of cool looking. All right, we'll look at it closer once it's dry because that'll be easier. I wonder how much, if any, color made it onto here. Maybe only a little bit. Huh. Maybe I'll leave that in while I speckle these other mops. Okay, so this I'm going to set aside to cool so we can wash it carefully and properly. And now we're going to take these mops, spread them out, and we will put this right here, and we are going to use the rest of those citric acid speckles that we had before and just speckle heavily on this. We're going to speckle, we're going to move, we're going to speckle, we're going to move, and carry on.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Story simple, yeah, you know it's true. Don't have to tell you, no, I won't convince you. We can't deny, but we can try to make it through. If only you and I were living on our own, we'd build a perfect world where we could live alone. Then no matter what we'd have a home. Oh yeah, we gotta get on it again. Oh yeah, it's not something we can pretend. Oh yeah, can't just let it end.
While I was speckling this yarn, I couldn't help but think of cherry blossoms. I'm not sure. Maybe it was like the white and the pink. Something really just made me feel very spring, even as I got heavier and heavier and we got the pastel pink background. But anyway, I'm going to leave this in here for about 15 minutes with the heat on low. Then I'll turn off the heat, let it cool off in the pot, and we will wash this. Let's wash the shawl, but actually let's take a little, ooh, little look. Oh, well, we'll see. We'll see how it actually looks when it's done, but it sort of almost makes it feel floral with the way that the speckles are spread out, and it almost seems like they're going to be closer together near the top. And I mean, it makes sense. This was scrunched in a lot more. I think that the pattern could be really, really fun. Now, I'm not expecting to see any bleeding. We are going to use a tiny bit of some clear dish soap just to check. But yeah, I'm not anticipating any bleeding. I'm going to rinse out the soap, put it through my spin dryer, and then hang this up to dry. Now let's wash just quickly our pink speckled. I'm not going to do the whole wash. I just wanted to show that with some water and a bit of soap that there is going to be no bleeding. This color is gorgeous. I love it. I would love to do like a rainbow and just have all the yarn speckled like this. I think that that would be really pretty. Anyway, I'll come back when everything's dry. Before we go look at the shawl, let me quickly unravel this crochet chain of crochet chains that is in a medium gray with these deep magenta speckles. The first round of this is so cool. Look at that resist. Oh, this is making me wonder about the resist on the shawl itself as you unravel it, because if there's this modeling in there also, that'll be so cool. Round two. All right, I am having a serious problem with the unraveling. So here I'm going, it's unraveling. I have to go really slow. Actually, maybe we're gonna be okay now because I've been having trouble and it's been breaking, but okay. This is slow, so then I can come and I can separate because the strand got attached to the loop. Okay, and so I can come in and try to make sure everything's gonna be okay. Nope. Okay, so what's going on here? Okay, I think we're still okay. Nope. What happened? So this is the kind of thing that I keep struggling with because we keep getting stuck. And I'm not sure what you guys can see, but it's like a little hair or something will get wrapped around. And so then I keep hitting these points and then it breaks, and so it's making me really, really anxious about how the shawl is going to unravel. Really, really, really anxious. And I am going to be sending Kelly a DM about this, but I am nervous and I'm going to see if I can fix this, but I can't do it while looking at the camera. And I'm stuck because I got it too far and then like other ends tightened. And so I'm stuck in this knot, and I'm afraid that it's going to break again. And oh no. So I can show you that the yarn and the broken pieces are looking soft and pretty with these like subtle patches of gray and pink. And it's really, really, really beautiful. I have to give up. And I'm not one to quit. I'm really, really sad and like frustrated, and Kelly, this is not your fault at all. I think that it's honestly a reality of crochet chains. Like sometimes I struggle to unravel them and I get frustrated. I am nervous about the shawl, but I'm also optimistic because since it is fairly lofty, I don't know, I'm really, really nervous about how it will unravel. Like, yeah, I'm just really, really nervous. Really, really nervous. But let's change gears because I think the shawl itself looks really, really awesome and I want to show that. And so I thought I was just gonna quickly unravel the crochet chain of crochet chains, and I've spent about an hour on this and I'm giving up. So let's go look at the shawl. Okay, Rebecca, shake it off, shake it off. I'm gonna show you the shawl in a moment, which I think is really beautiful, and I'm trying to let go of the frustration that I couldn't unravel the crochet chain and my nervousness that Kelly won't be able to unravel the blank. But I just wanted to show, and not with like a loose black t-shirt, but one way that I personally would probably like style and wear this shawl, which also hasn't been blocked, so therefore I'm using it much more like a scarf. But I think that the little like pops of pink that we have in here with that ombre and dark and light just are really, really fun, and it's so soft, so soft. So let's go someplace where I can lay this out and we'll take a closer look at the shawl. Here is the finished knit shawl. Now clearly it's not been blocked, so take that with a grain of salt, but we've got these deep, I guess, wings, and there's a brightness to the center. I think the speckling turned out really, really cool. You can kind of feel almost with the placement, they feel a little floral just because of the way that we had those folds in the blank, and there was really not a lot of spread from where we had the colors. The speckles are sharp and small on here. Yes, there's some areas where I was maybe a little more liberal, so we have some patches, but you can absolutely see them even as we head onto the darkest portions of the shawl. It's a little hard to see with the naked eye, but they are there. And they are densely placed mostly towards the bottom row. And then they get less and less and a little more sparse up towards the top. The one thing that I couldn't really account for is because of the way that it was scrunched up together, things are technically lighter up here, but they're also a little closer together. So because we had that pyramid like setup with how this was all laid out, that made it a little bit harder to see the like denser to lighter. But I do think that overall it is there. It's just in the areas where we had it denser, there was also more fabric.
That being said, I think that there's something really cool about how this all came together. And I'll show you in a moment that I think that it's a really fun effect and is still wearable. So I could have gone really wild, but this is still something that is fun and wearable. So I really like that, and that like pop of pink in with the dark is really, really nice. Kelly, I really hope that you like the shawl, or that if you still decide to unravel it, as was our original intent, that it goes smoothly. I'm going to be sending you a message right now, so fingers crossed that you will love it. Kelly and KnitSwag, thank you so much for sponsoring this video, suggesting that I dye a shawl and providing the blank for it. If you would like to learn more about the KnitSwag Etsy shop and see the beautiful designs that Kelly has created, you can find a link to the KnitSwag Etsy shop down in the video description. Since Kelly is both a knitter and a graphic designer, she has created many designs that would really resonate with some knitters on your gift list. And Kelly has generously given a KnitSwag coupon code for all of you. So from today through September 22nd, you can save 15% off the KnitSwag Etsy shop using the coupon code ShawlBlank. Kelly and KnitSwag, thank you so much for sponsoring today's video. I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video. I try things for the very first time on camera to show how I genuinely feel about things along the way. And so while I am thrilled with the way the shawl blanket came out, I did want to be honest about the concerns and the struggles I had unraveling that crochet chain of crochet chains, and acknowledge that crochet is something that I sometimes struggle more with unraveling more than knitting. So fingers crossed this will unravel okay. But yeah, if you enjoy my approach and honesty, please subscribe. I publish at least 2 new yarn dyeing videos every single week, and you really don't want to miss any of it. If you'd like to learn more about how you can support the ChemKnits Tutorials YouTube channel, I have links to Patreon and Etsy and all kinds of things down in the video description that you can check out. Once again, Kelly, thank you so much for sponsoring today's video. I mean, I'm feeling really cute right now. Like, I think that this is a really cute look. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. And if you'd like me to try dyeing more finished objects, I hadn't done this before, and knowing that the intent was to unravel this really did take a lot of pressure off of me and make me feel more confident about just going for it. And honestly, I want to do more. I really like how this shawl turned out. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm still nervous about putting hours and hours and hours into a shawl and then maybe not liking the results. But if I go into it with thinking like worst case scenario, it could be a blank, then the results could be pretty awesome. And so it's something that we should try. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I'm back. I almost forgot our yarn mops. Check these out. Aren't they pretty? We've got heavy all over pink speckles with a pastel pink base. It is soft and actually complements the shawl really nicely. I mean, it is the same color, but it looks really fun together. So imagine using this as like a scarf and then making like a little beanie or something out of this yarn. It would just be really cute. But anyway, I wanted to make sure to show this yarn. Subscribe! And thank you so much for watching, everyone.